What's up, you guys? It's your girl, Kira Shanice, and we are back over on Nisi Says. And I want to say welcome to my new subscribers. Thank you guys. Really didn't expect that, but thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Today we're going to be talking about or watching alien abduction stories that may have you convinced. We're going to get right into it. So, wait, before we get into it, to all my new subscribers, my upload days will be Thursday and Friday. Somewhere those 2 days. That's what I'm aiming for. So we're going to try to go ahead on and get on a consistent schedule for you guys. But in the meantime, let me just go ahead on and pull up the studio. Okay.
This is the most convincing case of alien abduction. On November 5th, 1975, a group of men who were loggers in the state of Arizona set off into the forest for a day of work. While on the job, nothing out of the ordinary happened. The 7 of them packed up their stuff and all got into a truck to drive home. Just a few minutes into their ride home, the men noticed a bright glow coming from the sky. At first, they thought it was the sunset. But this happened hours after the sun went down. While looking at the mysterious bright lights, the men noticed a UFO or an unidentified flying object flying above them. Travis Walton, the man in this photo, got out of the truck to get a closer look at the ship. And just a few moments later, Travis was struck by a bright blue beam coming down from the UFO. Terrified, the rest of the men in the truck drove off. And when they returned about 10 minutes later, Travis was gone.
So his friends left him, so that sucks. Travis, those not your friends, man.
Travis was officially declared missing, and police, along with many other people, went out to find him. Nobody found a trace of him until he was discovered 5 days after he went missing. Travis claimed that when the beam hit him, he was immediately knocked unconscious. And when he woke up, he was staring into the eyes of 3 alien-like creatures who were staring down at him on a table. He claims that they experimented on him, and then the next thing he knew, he woke up again in the forest. To this day, nobody has been able to explain Travis's disappearance. Travis himself doesn't really like to talk about what happened that night, but there is a movie titled Fire in the Sky that tells the story of Travis Walton and what happened that night.
I might have to check that out.
On February 21st, 2021, a flight from Cincinnati to Phoenix was cruising at 35,000 feet over New Mexico when the following was reported by the pilot.
Have any targets up here? We just had something go right over the top of us that, I hate to say this, looked like a long cylindrical object that almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast that went right over the top of us.
Based on the description, the object was moving at 460 miles per hour. Military-operated radar is designed to scan for objects such as cruise missiles, but nothing was detected that fits the pilot's description. Considering the military conducts numerous weapons tests in New Mexico, the possibility of a radar-eluding missile remains on the table, but the White Sands Missile Test Site has stated no tests were conducted that day. Rather than a missile, could the object have been similar to the tic-tac-shaped UFO witnessed by the pilots of the USS Nimitz back in 2004?
It's rotating. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The
They
wind's
look like a
120
tic-tac,
miles
don't
to the west. Look at that thing, dude.
In February of 2020, a passenger flight is en route about 30,000 feet over the Colombian city of Medellin when the pilot noticed a strange object flying by that he captured on his cell phone. This dark, cube-like object is estimated to be between 10 and 15 feet wide. Over the recent years, Colombia has been a hotbed for unexplained UFO sightings. This cube-like object shares similarities to aerial phenomenon witnessed by a fighter pilot in
10 to 15 feet wide, so that must be like a 1 or 2 seater UFO.
2018 off the East Coast and is still being investigated by the U.S. government.
So he took you to a military base in Moose Lake, Minnesota?
The aliens had put something in my leg. So we went there, and after they looked at it and whenever they said, okay, we're going to take this out. And I said, okay.
So apparently her
They
grandfather
said,
was
you don't talk about
abducted
this.
by
They
aliens.
wanted me to keep it hush-hush, and that's pretty hard to do for a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
But they took it out. I don't even have a scar anymore. But they took it out. They said, okay. And that was the deal. They said, we don't talk about this. So
Wow.
they do exist.
Oh, no,
So
I believe you.
Anybody that says they don't, they have no clue.
What the aliens look like.
Okay, there's different aliens, because I've also seen some others also, but these aliens, they were probably about 3 to 4 foot tall. They had big round white heads, big eyes. Yeah.
Wow.
Were they mean? No, but they were there.
Wow.
These are the top 3 ways to survive an alien abduction. Number 1, if you see a bright light in the sky, don't run towards it. Number 2, if a green alien knocks on your window, do not open it. And number 3, if you do get abducted, make sure you have some type of cheese in your pocket. Aliens hate the smell of cheese and will kick you off their ship immediately. If you do these 3 things, aliens should leave you alone. For more alien...
Okay, the cheese one. Okay, there's got to be a joke. The cheese. Okay, I'm still gonna keep that in the back of my mind just in case.
stories, check out my YouTube channel. Good luck.
My brother and I used to work on my uncle's ranch out in Utah every summer, you know, herding the cows, feeding them, stuff like that. There was this one night we were out in the field, and suddenly there was this incredibly bright light descending from the sky. Next thing we knew, we were in this big white room, and standing in front of me was this slimy 2-legged creature with these wide lizard-like eyes across its face. We looked at us and said, there's this planet where they're just necks with Adam's apples in them, and these necks just flop around day and night. That's the whole deal on this planet. So I said, what? I don't understand. And he said, it's true.
Okay, let me get this straight. So, an alien came down to speak to this guy and said, I gotta tell somebody about this. It's a planet out here with nothing but necks on it. No head, no body, just necks with Adam's apples. And the alien was so baffled he had to come down and tell the human. Okay.
This planet is just a bunch of necks, and the Adam's apples in these necks are very pronounced. They bob up and down in the necks like they're gulping or something, but they're not gulping because they're not capable. There's no head, there's no mouth, it's just necks. It's the worst fucking planet there is. Okay, I've got to go now. I just needed to tell someone about it. Then he dropped us off in the field and flew away in his spaceship. It was absolutely terrifying.
I don't remember being taken, just like I don't remember being dropped off, but I was asleep when it happened.
She may have been dreaming, but Amy Ryland says she didn't imagine it when a spaceship landed in her front yard and took her away.
So this one made the news back in October 4th, 2001.
Do you believe in aliens or UFOs?
I do now. I definitely do now.
I believe in it now because I've seen it and I know what I saw.
Amy's friend Petra was also in the house that night and claims she was woken by a bright light.
I've seen Amy in front of me on a beam of light being carried out of the living room window into a really huge ship outside.
The only evidence this happened, a torn curtain and a burnt bush, apparently singed by the bright light which carried sleeping Amy out the window.
No, I don't drink. I don't take drugs at all. I'm just a normal person.
So what was your reaction when you saw this? What did you do? Did you reach out to help her?
No, I couldn't. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it, and I fainted.
Next to wake up was Amy's husband, Keith.
I freaked out completely. I went mental, running around, screaming for her. But after I believed Petra, which I did after about 5 minutes, I called the police.
The only physical evidence I have are the marks from the tests that they did on me.
What sort of tests?
Just getting kind of DNA samples, and they didn't do anything bad to me, so it was wholly a good experience from my point of view.
Amy and Keith say no one can explain how she was taken from Maryborough in southern Queensland and ended up in Mackay in North Queensland, a distance of 800 kilometres, in 3 hours in the middle of the night.
So it doesn't matter if we were all on hallucinogenic drugs and drinking, that still wouldn't put Amy 800 kilometres away. They're never going to acknowledge the existence of aliens.
That one was pretty convincing.
It happened when I was very young. Something I didn't discover through hypnosis that happened to my mother and I as we were...
I'm gonna pause these. I ain't even trying to be funny, but don't she kind of look like Morticia Adams? Go ahead, Sandy. Tell your story, girl.
We were driving to my ballet class, and we saw a UFO out our window, and it came down lower and lower and until it was right above a telephone pole, and our car stalled, and there were about 12 other cars stalled around us, and white beams of light were shooting out from the craft, and one hit me in the face, and I was paralyzed. It came through the roof of the car. It didn't come through the window. And I remember another person next to us had a white beam of light in his face. My mother asked him if he thought it was a UFO, and he said he thought it was. And I saw a tall, thin man, I thought, walking in between our cars, and when he reached our car, my mother went to sleep. And then 3 small beings came and took me out of the car and floated me into the craft.
Okay, 3 small beings and what did they look like?
They had large heads and big black eyes, and it was very fuzzy. I was almost passed out at that time.
And they floated you up onto the spacecraft, and then what happened?
They put me onto a table, and they showed me a long needle, and they put the edge of the needle into my navel. And then they floated me back down to my car and shut the door on my back, and my mother woke up, and we continued on to my ballet class. And when we got there, my class was nearly over. I had missed an hour of it. And my mother called the FAA to report the craft, and other people had called also, and including a lieutenant colonel from the Air Force.
All right, now...
Okay. This story, I don't know. So, all of this happened. You'd have been abducted from spacecraft, and y'all just continued on to ballet. Okay.
You had another incident happen to you?
Well, 3 months later, they came back, and they took me from my room. Actually, I walked out into the front yard. My parents were standing out in the front yard also, and took me aboard the craft and removed something that looked like a placenta attached to an umbilical cord.
From your body?
Yes.
Now, what are you saying happened to you?
Well, I can only speculate that they must have put something in me to, I think they...
You feel you were artificially inseminated? You feel you were impregnated by them?
Yes.
And they were harvesting...
As crazy as it sounds.
Well, a lot of things sound crazy. A lot of things are inexplicable. Doesn't mean they don't happen. But you're saying you feel that you were somehow impregnated and they were taking the child?
Yes. Well, as 3 months into the pregnancy.
All right, now, do you tell people this story? Do you share this story with people?
I do share the story with people. I think it's a very important thing to share. Also, I know that it happens to so many people, and if I had thought that I was alone in this, it would have been very difficult. And I am still searching to this day for other people who were there in the intersection with me, and possibly the lieutenant colonel who saw what I saw.
Okay, but are you generally greeted with skepticism from people? Do people...
Yes, but it's surprising how many people do believe this, because...
Yeah, I mean, I talked to the audience during the break, and how many of you in the audience believe these stories? A lot of you do.
And I'm not trying to convince anyone that it's
No,
true.
we understand. No, but you have to understand also that according to a Roper poll, I think nearly 4 million Americans say that they've had a similar experience to you folks. So, I mean, you're not talking about a small number of people. How has this changed your life? I would assume that it has.
Well, I think about it every night when I go to sleep, because recently I became engaged and I live with my fiance, and now they're visiting us together, and he woke with an incision scar in his back about 2 inches long. So I know it's still happening, and it concerns me about having my own children, but through help of friends and people I know, I'm getting through it.
I didn't ask you about the physical evidence that you claim to have sustained from one of these abductions. What did they do to you?
Well, the first abduction I remembered without regression hypnosis. Also, I was taken aboard a craft and they showed me a small BB, and they told me they were going to put it in my nose because they had 2 tubes going from my nose to my feet, and that it would not hurt. But they took an instrument and put the BB on the end of it and punctured the soft palate of my mouth. And it hurt very badly. And blood spurted onto my gown that they had given me, and I still have those puncture wounds in my mouth.
Which have never been explained by a doctor?
He asked me what I put up there, because it has scar tissue around it, so it was obviously done after birth.
Okay.
I think people think that you are put under hypnosis and you're very relaxed, and you ask these questions, what happened? You say, oh, I was taken aboard a spacecraft and this happened. But I know, Michael and I both worked with Bud Hopkins. It's not like that at all. When you get to that moment that you maybe have some missing time, a block of missing time, getting through that is the most traumatic thing. I almost threw up all over.
No, I'm not suggesting it wasn't true for this young woman.
I was 6 years old. I hadn't seen anything about this, and the last thing I wanted to really believe is that this happened. Actually, the last thing I would want to believe is that I'm crazy, so I guess it's better that it happened.
Well, that's it.
I had a conscious memory. I knew something happened in the middle of the night that I couldn't explain.
Pause that. Okay, y'all, so we just watched that together, right? So some of the stories were like, okay, you sure? And some of them were quite convincing. I don't know what to believe, what to take from it. Let me know what you guys think about this video in the comments below. Do you guys believe that some people get abducted by aliens? Do you think it's true? Or do you think like these people are just batshit crazy? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. This is Kiara Shanice, and I am signing off. See y'all in the next one.